120 days. Now, you're probably wondering, why is this video titled 120 Days? I'm going to tell you why right now. Me and one of my buddies, we were talking and we were just talking about how life can change so quickly and how we can make future plans and everything goes to crap and, nothing works out. And we kind of came to a conclusion of, wow, it really is not random. It isn't God's control, but at the end of the day, it still kind of is random to us because we don't know what will happen in the next X amount of days. At the time when me and my buddy were talking, it was 120 days. So we just kind of came up with this phrase, 120 days. So many things can happen in 120 days. In your situation, it may be 360 days, 180, it doesn't matter, 90, 30, 20, 10, 7, it doesn't matter. You get the idea. So many things can happen in X amount of days. And I want you to think of it this way. X amount of days until then. Say you're worried about something that's going to happen in your future, right? And you just don't know how to feel about it. Well, just think of the fact. X amount of days. How many things can happen in X amount of days? Like, I want to buy a new car by the end of the year. But how many things can happen up until the point I buy my new car? Like, I plan on selling my car in, I don't know, a month. But how many things can happen in a month that can change my perspective on me wanting to sell my car? You want to go to school in a different city, in a different state, country, whatever. X amount of days. There's 6 months until you want to go to school. How many things can happen that can influence your decision to go to school up until that point? And this is where God's guidance comes into play, okay? We have to be faithful and we need to trust in God's timing and guidance. And I know you've probably heard this a million times over and over. I'm like a broken record, just like everyone else on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. They're all talking about trust in God's timing. But at the end of the day, it legitimately is the only thing you could do. It is the only thing you could really do is trust in God's timing. Trust in His plan. I may have my plan to sell my car in a month, but I may not sell it up until 3 months from now. I wanted to sell my car at the beginning of the year. In January, we're in what? It's April 24th. I still haven't sold it. It wasn't in God's plan for me to sell it. And now I want to sell it again. You see what I mean? There's so many things that can happen, and there's so many things that have happened to me that have changed my perspective on selling my car. So it postponed it another 3 months up until now that I actually want to sell it again. Do you see where I'm going with this? God can change your life and He can change your thoughts and plans, and He can make certain events happen in a specific way to where it can either postpone or completely change your plan for what you're doing. And that's what I mean by trusting God's timing, trusting God's plan. It may not have been the right thing for me to sell my car at the beginning of the year, and it wasn't. Look, now I want to sell it and buy a completely different type of car. At the beginning of the year, I wanted to sell it and buy a sports car. Now I want to buy a utility car. You get the idea. If I would have sold it at the beginning of the year and I would have bought another sports car, I would have been in a different place right now. But look, now I'm still left with my current car that's still a sports car, and I want to sell it for a different type of car. So there's so many things that can happen, and I promise to you, everything that is happening right now in your life, even though it may be confusing, it may be odd, it's all orchestrated perfectly. And that's something I have to remind myself too, is everything that's happening to my life, to my mom's life, to my friend's life, to everyone's life around me, it's all perfectly orchestrated. It may not be like the plan that you had. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to trigger you. It's going to make you think, I kind of had this plan. Now it's like all screwed up. And what do I do? Where do I go from here? But that's not the right way to think about it. You just have to say, okay, God, I understand this was my plan. I had this in mind. And it just so happened that it didn't align with what you had in plan for me. Lord, show me the way and show me the right path for me to take. So yeah, 120 days. It's a saying I have no matter what, whenever I encounter doubt, whenever I encounter fear, I just say 120 days, even if it's like something I'm waiting for in like a week. It's just a saying that me and my buddy have developed. 120 days. And you could change it up for your scenario. Again, you could say 7 days, 14, a month. It doesn't matter. But I always just say 120 days. There's so many things that can happen up until that point of which I'm worrying in. Because when that thing is going to end up happening, if it will happen, there's going to be so many other things that have come into the picture that the outcome may look completely different. And I promised you this. So yeah, guys, 120 days. Trust in God and His plan. God bless.